Dolphins fans, be sure to go down, subscribe, because we bring you daily Dolphins content. Hit that big red subscribe button if you're all about the Fins. Welcome into Dolphins Today. I am your host, Will Scott, and I am excited about today's show because we are talking about some possible Josh Boyer replacements. I believe that he is very much on the hot seat, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, that is. Could they fire him? And if so, who could replace him? We are going to break down 5 names that I believe should be on Mike McDaniel's list. So I want y'all to go down here and answer this question for me, because the other day I said, will he get fired? This is a little bit different. Do you want Josh Boyer to get fired? Type Y for yes or type in for no down in the comment section. Go down, chime in. It is the pinned comment, so reply to it when you get a second. And here is why we are talking about him getting fired. The Dolphins defense has underachieved, and they have been really bad, especially on the road. They rank last in the league, dead last in the NFL in road points per game allowed. They're last in the AFC in terms of just scoring defense in general. 21st in the NFL in yards per game, 11th in rushing yards allowed per game, 26th in passing yards allowed per game, and 26th in third down defense as well. And on that losing streak that we've been seeing, a 3-game losing skid now, we've seen how bad the third down defense specifically has been. But don't forget last year. Remember when the Dolphins got off to that terrible start last year? Yeah, Josh Boyer was the DC. Then Brian Flores took defensive play calling away from him, and the Dolphins won 8 of their last 9 games. Don't think that was a coincidence. Still, though, Mike McDaniel decided to bring Boyer back. I was even confident that maybe Boyer could succeed without Brian Flores, and I was wrong, and I think a lot of players felt the same way. Omar Kelly, who used to work for the Sun-Sentinel, reported this during the offseason. This is right after McDaniel announced that Boyer would be retained. I can tell you this as a fact. Players on defense are not very pleased with Josh Boyer being named defensive coordinator. We will see what happens here, because they know that Boyer's scheme, concepts, and approach did not lead to success last year. And again, we are seeing that this year. The defense has not been good. I bring up the third down defense. Take a look at this. This is third down and goal against the Chargers. There's nobody covering the middle of the field. Nobody. They scored on this play. And you look at how the defense has been lined up on third downs. He has the worst third down defense in the NFL. I am convinced. You saw the other day, you had Dawson Knox wide open in the middle of the field on every single play. It's annoying. Barry Jackson said this: no team in the AFC is allowing more points per game than the Dolphins. Even taking into account the loss of 4 key players, Byron Jones, Brandon Jones, Emmanuel Ogbah, Nick Needham, that's still disappointing and must be fixed to win in what will be a tough first-round playoff game on the road if they make the playoffs. The chances of the Dolphins winning the division right now, less than 1%, literally. So they're probably going to go on the road if they make the playoffs. Look, the defense has way too much talent to be struggling this much, to have the worst scoring defense in the entire AFC. I get it. You've had injuries. You've been without Byron Jones the whole year, though. You need to adapt. You still have a lot of talent at that position. Yeah, you lost Emmanuel Ogbah. He wasn't really doing anything, though, before he got hurt. And you traded for Bradley Chubb. Even with the injuries, there's no excuse for how bad this defense has been this season. There's too much talent on that side of the ball. And if there is not massive, and I mean massive improvement here in the last couple weeks of the season, you need to move on from Josh Boyer. I know Mike McDaniel is just a really good guy. Players love him. His coaching staff loves him. It's going to be tough for Mike McDaniel for the first time in his life to have to fire somebody, but I think it needs to get done. And if it does get done, here is a name that could come in and replace Josh Boyer. I continue to bring up Matt House because I watched him up close and personal this year at LSU, and I really like what he did with LSU's defense, completely turning that defense around in his first season under Brian Kelly. We'll take a look at his path here in a second, but again, he had a lot of success at LSU this season. He had some time spent in the National Football League with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. Actually spent some time with Florida International as their defensive coordinator. So yeah, as I mentioned, he spent some time in the 305 as the FIU defensive coordinator in 2015, then was on Kentucky staff for a few seasons, 2017, 2018. He was the defensive coordinator there, and then spent 3 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs as their linebackers coach, won a Super Bowl in Kansas City, and then he just concluded his first season as the LSU defensive coordinator. So when I'm looking at college DCs, I want to look at NFL ties, because a lot of college guys are going to want to stay in the college game, but I don't know, after spending a couple seasons in the NFL, maybe he would want to get back to the league as a defensive coordinator. We'll get into my next candidate here in a second. First, I want to tell you about our friends over at Rocket Money. And if you're tired of wasting money on subscriptions, this is the app for you. In fact, 80% of people have subscriptions that they forget about, myself included. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app that I use that allows me to keep track of my subscriptions. That app is called Rocket Money, and because of it, I no longer waste money on subscriptions that I don't even use. You might have heard of it. Rocket Money, formerly known as True Bill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel one, all you got to do is press cancel. They will take care of the rest. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/chat. Seriously, could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/DolphinsChat to get started. rocketmoney.com/DolphinsChat. Let's get into my next candidate now. That is the interim head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers, Jim Leonard. And a lot of people believed he was going to have the interim tag taken off, but they obviously had the opportunity to hire Luke Fickell and went that route. But Jim Leonard will not be back next year at Wisconsin. He is going to coach them in the bowl game, but has announced he will not return to be on Luke Fickell's staff. Has been the DC there since 2017, a Broyles Award finalist that same year, named the interim head coach in October when Paul Chryst got fired, and did a pretty good job leading Wisconsin to a bowl game. I was a little bit surprised they didn't promote him, but at the same time, I mean, Luke Fickell is literally a top 5 coach in the college game right now. They made the right decision to bring him in, but Jim Leonard leaving Madison, some rumors that he might want to go to the NFL. So we just brought up 2 college guys. Who do you think would be the better hire? Type H for Matt House or type L for Jim Leonard? Down in the comments section, go down, let me know. I really like Matt House, but I'm going to have to type L for Jim Leonard if you can go out and get him. Let's talk about an internal candidate right now. That is Sam Madison, the cornerbacks coach of the Miami Dolphins, and of course a Dolphins legend, one of the best players to ever play defense for this Dolphins franchise. Man, I would love Sam Madison to be the defensive coordinator, and I think you should potentially look at promoting him, especially if the defense struggles again versus Green Bay. Let's say the Dolphins lose this game against Green Bay and the defense gives up 40 points to Aaron Rodgers. And you got to win the last 2 games to make the playoffs. You cannot let Josh Boyer continue to lead the defense. I do believe that Sam Madison might be the best candidate already on staff to replace Boyer. And when we're talking about replacement videos like this, you always have to include an internal candidate. Sam Madison's the guy that I decided to do that for on this video. This next name is really interesting, maybe not realistic. Brandon Staley, the head coach of the Chargers. Now the Chargers are on a 2-game win streak. They're in pretty good shape for the playoffs right now. But let's say they miss the playoffs. I believe that the Chargers would let him go. So This is only if Staley gets fired. If the Chargers, let's say, go 1-2 in their last 3, miss the playoffs, which they're kind of in the same boat as us right now, 8-6, probably have to win 2 of their last 3 to get in. Then Staley would miss the playoffs for a second straight year with Justin Herbert. He's under some pressure there. They got to win. They got to win now. So Staley might get let go if the Chargers make the playoffs. And if that happens, he might be the top DC candidate for any NFL team that has a vacancy. And for those of you that might say, I don't know about him, look at what he did against us. Yeah, that's my case for hiring Brandon Staley. He completely shut the Dolphins offense down. But who's number 1 on my list is the former head coach of the Denver Broncos, Vic Fangio, who has been an NFL defensive coordinator as well and has had a lot of stops along the way. Taking a look at his career, from 86 to 94 was the Saints linebackers coach, then was the Panthers DC, then the Colts DC, then the Texans DC before he was the Ravens defensive assistant for a few years. Then was the Stanford DC under Jim Harbaugh in 2010. Then was the 49ers defense coordinator under Harbaugh from 2011 to 2014. Went to the Super Bowl during that time. Was the Bears DC, had a great run in Chicago from 2018, I should say from 2015 to 2018. Then was the Broncos head coach for 3 seasons. Didn't have success as a head coach. And now is the current defensive consultant for the Philadelphia Eagles. And they're doing pretty well. So that's worth noting as well. Benjamin Albright responded to a tweet. And the tweet said, think Josh Boyer's going to, this is just a fan, so not like an actual source, but, probably Josh Boyer's going to get fired. What are your thoughts on Fangio coming to the Dolphins as the DC? And here's what he said. Vic will have several options this offseason to become a defensive coordinator again. So he is certainly a name to watch here if Boyer gets fired. And Fangio has 19 years of experience as an NFL defensive coordinator. Has had success at pretty much every stop in that specific position. So I really like the idea of bringing Fangio in. He would be a huge upgrade over who you currently have in Josh Boyer. But who would you hire? Does not have to be one of the 5 names that I just mentioned. Who do you think the Dolphins should hire as their defensive coordinator if Boyer does indeed get fired?